Shamaya, you did it.
STL Music.
Is that good? Welcome back to the show. Yo, listen up, we back in the game. Sweep the league, we got the flame. Motivated to the fullest every single day. We wake up, get it in every way. Right from the two in the global inspiration. Talk this sports and top news, no hesitation. Sweep the league is back. We always coming back, that's a fact. Wanna tell them that STL Music, mama, we did it, where we at? Coach Jill in the house with the flow so tight. Every rocks, that's we unite. Yeah, the best show, Monday through Friday. If this ain't different, they lying. We got the energy. When I say sweep, you say the league. Sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go.
Hey, it's Rain Fernandez, and you're watching Sweep the League. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Facebook at Rain Fernandez, Rayne Fernandez.
Hi, it's Sherilyn, and you're watching Sweep the League TV. Follow me on Instagram at official Sherilyn for more content.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
Sweep the league TV where legends collide. If the Cowboys fall short, we'll still ride the tide. Like Jordan in the clutch or Brady's last play, we bring the fire, keeping fans in the fray. Coach Gio and Marie calling the shots, with Derek Coventry, Hall of Fame thoughts. So hit that subscribe, don't sit on the bench. Get in the game, every highlight's intense. The live stream's on till your friends don't delay. Like Kobe in the fourth, we're here to play. Sweep the League TV, where greatness resides. From the blogs at the drives till the Hall's on the rise. We're all in on sports, NBA, CFB, and more for fans. By fans, it's the show you'll adore.
How happy were you with the shot selection, even though they came back?
Happy?
Reasonably.
Happy? We got to keep our heads up and keep playing.
Thanks, Pop.
No second question. I'm hurt.
Thanks very much, Pop. Your impressions of the first quarter?
We're behind and they're ahead.
Why is that?
They scored more than we did, and we were pretty crappy on defense. It's been fun. Praise. I don't want praise.
Okay. Then,
I want a question so I can get back to my team.
Okay, a minute into this game, you took Tony Parker out and put in Patty Mills. Why?
Because I wanted to.
And that is Greg Popovich, coach, still the coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. That news did come out last week. We've talked about it a little bit before on who's going to be the man setting up to take over for Pop. We'd love to get you guys insight on that. Locked On Spurs, Jeff Garcia. I was on today's episode and we talked about coaches that could take over for Pop. Want to know what you guys in the chat think about Greg Popovich possibly retiring for the San Antonio Spurs. Rudy Campos Jr. This is Sweep the League TV. Be sure to go to our YouTube page, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button so you're not left out on anything Sweep the League, whether it's Sweep Unplugged, STL Music, you've got Bez Boys Podcast, you've got STL 316, Grading the Market, The Big Show itself, Sweep the League TV. Also draft content coming very, very soon. We've got a lot of draft videos coming out. We're putting a lot of mock drafts out. We've got about 9 that we did over the weekend. So more team 7-round mock drafts coming out. Then the remaining, I believe, 6 that we've got teams left to do will be coming out as well this week. So tons of content to go. Best thing to do also is go to Sweep the League at Sweep the League Radio on TikTok. Hit that follow button so you get more content from us here at Sweep the League. We're going to be myself. I don't think Derek's going to be with us tonight. Coach Gio, I believe, has a night off. So what are we talking about tonight? First things first, we are going to talk about coaching in the NBA for the San Antonio Spurs. And today I was on an episode with Jeff Garcia, obviously Locked On Spurs. Be sure to take a look at it. Go listen to it. Go watch it. Really good episode. Really great episode. Gave you guys names of possible coaching replacements for Pop. As we know right now, he's not going to be returning this season. He did have a mild stroke at the beginning of the year. Well, midway through the year. A little bit before midway through the year. He's been out all this time. It's uncertain if Pop is going to be coming back next season. We will see, but nonetheless, one of the most decorated, one of the best coaches in NBA history. Some consider him the best coach of NBA, the all-time greatest coach of all time. For me, he's one of the best all time. Definitely, I could put him up there as the greatest as well. But what happens if Coach Pop calls it a career? I mean, we've already seen Tim call it a career. Manu, Tony. Pretty much Pop is the last part of that puzzle that still is involved in the NBA. If he calls it a career, it's been a great career. 5 titles, all-time winningest coach. I mean, the accolades speak for themselves. The accomplishments, they speak for themselves. It's Pop. I mean, who do you want to replace him if he's not here? Earlier, Jeff Garcia mentions, obviously, Mitch Johnson, who I think is probably the last guy on a lot of people's list. When it comes to fans, at least, is the last guy. But you're talking about Mitch Johnson, current interim head coach for the Spurs. Is he doing a great job, Spurs fans? I mean, majority, if not all, would probably tell you no. Some may say he's doing the best job that he can with the cards that he's dealt. Jeff mentions the possibility of the Spurs just going with Mitch Johnson. Why? Because Mitch would get an entire offseason to work with the team, kind of instill his coaching philosophies. He'll go through a draft. He'll be able to get players that fits the system that he wants to run. Get, like I said, a whole offseason. You're going to have De'Aaron Fox coming back next year, obviously. Wemby, he'll be coming back as well next year, knock on wood. I mean, you've got a whole lot of good things happening in the summer. Players are going to come back. You got a draft class that's one of the most touted draft classes that we've seen in a long time. So I understand what Jeff said when Jeff basically said, hey, give Mitch an off season to get everything squared away. Give him the opportunity to go an entire season. Let him instill and install his coaching philosophy. See what he can do. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not opposed to it, though. What do you guys think about Mitch Johnson taking over for Pop not on an interim basis, but on a full-time basis as your next head coach for the San Antonio Spurs? Another guy that Jeff brought up, Monty Williams, current head coach of TMI here in San Antonio. Bruce Bowen was the coach for TMI, and then all of a sudden Monty comes down, Bowen's gone. They basically kicked Bruce off the bench and said, Monty, it's yours. The thing is, Monty Williams, he's had some success in the NBA as a head coach. He's already in the backyard. He has ties to the San Antonio Spurs in the past. Could be worse. Definitely. That was Jeff's other pick, was Monty Williams. I'm okay with that. I don't know if you guys are. I'm okay with Monty Williams. Definitely. Get some comments here. Tim Gonzalez, Blue Devils Tar still suck. SR $ 2001. F that. Bring in Mark Jackson. Again, another guy who's had a decent coaching career. Whether Mark wants to come back, I have no idea. I don't know if Mark Jackson would want to come back. He may not. I wouldn't be opposed to Mark Jackson. That's a good one out there. Rudy, I gave my opinion who coached the Spurs. Yeah, you did. I got to look for it though. If you want to drop the comment, if you want to drop the names in here, Tim, I'd appreciate it. Because I'm not. I got to go back on Twitter or X or whatever it is to look at it. But we've got SR back in here. Bring in the Villanova head coach, the one that won back-to-back ships in the NCAA. Maybe you're talking about the current guy. That would be Dan Hurley from UConn. But if you're talking older Villanova, that's Jay Wright. Yeah. I'm going to get to that part in a minute because I did a little video, a walking video last week where we talked a little bit about coaching and I brought in the college coaches. Love the comment. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into the college basketball here in just a second here. But, Jeff mentioned Monty Williams. I'm not too opposed to Monty Williams coming in as head coach for the San Antonio Spurs. I wouldn't mind that at all. Again, he's had coaching experience. He's had head coaching experience in the past. He's got ties to San Antonio. Obviously, he's coaching TMI in San Antonio. Could be worse. Could be a whole lot worse. Those are the two guys Jeff's mentioned. Before I get into the NCAA talk, because we had a couple of comments here about NCAA coaches, let me give you a couple of mine. First and foremost, I've been on the Mike Brown train the entire time. And I know Mike Brown probably as well. He got fired in Sacramento. He's had some beef with De'Aaron Fox. I'm gonna tell you right now. I said it on Locked On Spurs, and I'll say it here. I don't buy the beef, quote unquote beef, between Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox. If you look at a lot of reports, De'Aaron Fox wanted out of Sacramento more after Mike Brown was fired. So he's got a really good relationship with Mike Brown. Mike Brown, former assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs. He's taken the Cleveland Cavaliers team to an NBA Finals appearance. Few conference finals, few conference semifinals. Only 1 year in his entire coaching career where he's coached the entire season has he had a losing record. He's got a plus 500. I think he's 60% winning percentage overall as a coach. Brings a lot of good things to the table. He knows Spurs culture. Coach under Pop. He's won titles under Steve Kerr. I mean, he's my number one choice right now. My number one choice right now would be Mike Brown. And yeah, he's talking about Jay Wright. I do see the comments about Jay Wright. So yeah, we're going to get into that here in a minute. I say he means Jay Wright. Mario Cavazos, appreciate you, Mario, joining us tonight. Monty is cool. Someone with skins on the wall is Avery Johnson. Monty's father was a coach. Would love for him to cover the question to coach the Spurs. I'm going to get into that as well. We got a lot of coaching stuff today. So there'll be a lot of coaching. Dawn Staley. I like Dawn Staley. I did mention another female on Locked On Spurs who I kind of like a little bit. And it's a very, very under the table type of hire. If you want to go that route, Dawn Staley would be probably number one if you're looking for, a female head coach to be in the NBA. I really like Dawn Staley. I know Becky Hammond's the number one choice. She has ties to San Antonio, being coached under, coach under Pop. I just don't see her leaving the WNBA anytime soon. So, and SR, yeah, Jay Wright bringing tough as a discipline. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into the Jay Wright and college basketball coaches in a little bit here. But the Monty Williams thing, I wouldn't mind it at all. But for me, Mike Brown is number one. The reasons why I mentioned, he's had success just about everywhere he's gone, with the exception of one season where he had a losing record. He's got a 60% winning percentage overall in the NBA. He's taking a team to the conference finals, taking them to the NBA finals. Mike Brown is a steady head coach. Now, does he move the needle? I don't know. I think, one guy put it best on a live stream when he basically said Mike Brown's like Jeff Fisher. He's going to get you the wins. He's going to get you to 500. It's going to look good. It's going to look sexy. It's going to look awesome, but it's always going to come up short. I respect the hell out of that comment because once I look at it too, yeah, Mike Brown maybe could be a Jeff Fisher. I think he can maybe do a little bit better than what Jeff Fisher did in the NFL. But for right now, for the team that you have composed, you have Harrison Barnes, you have De'Aaron Fox. So you've got two guys who have played under Mike Brown in the past. You've got a coaching tree, Brett Brown here. He's had ties to Mike Brown as well with Spurs. Again, you've got a lot of connections there. That's why Mike Brown for me would be a top choice and my top choice. Outside of that, I start to go away from Spurs, Spurs tandems and Spurs former players, which again, we're going to get into Spurs former players here because there's a couple that you could consider. We need discipline and we need to quit treating these pros like kids. Exactly. So one guy that deserves it is the Eric Bieniemy. This is my number 2 choice. The Eric Bieniemy of the NBA. For those of y'all that don't know, Eric Bieniemy, NFL head assistant coach, never seems to get an opportunity. Sam Cassell, assistant head coach for the Boston Celtics. Why do I bring up Sam Cassell? He's my number 2 choice. Long-time assistant coach. NBA champion as an assistant coach with the Boston Celtics just last year. Has numerous coaching stints, assistant coaching stints around the league. A 3-time, if I'm not mistaken, 3-time NBA champion with the Houston Rockets. You've got a generational big man. You've got a big man in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama. Who did Sam play with? One of the best big men of all time, Hakeem Olajuwon. The tutelage. The stuff that he could teach Victor. If you go back to those Rocket teams, gritty, dogs. We had Mario Elie on our show a while back, and we talked about those Rocket teams with Mario Elie. And Mario will tell you that those teams were dogs, man. They fought. Sam Cassell was a part of those teams. SR 2001 made a comment about discipline. Sam Cassell's a no-nonsense guy. Or go back to his playing days. He's a no-nonsense guy. I like what I see in Sam Cassell. I think he's a really good coach. I think he deserves an opportunity. Will he get it in San Antonio? I don't know. I'm not too sure if he gets it in San Antonio. But he's my number 2 choice. He's the guy that I'm looking, okay, outside the box, no ties to San Antonio other than playing against them. But he checks so many of the boxes you're looking for in a coach. And you're right. Sam, I am. Tim Gonzalez, if you were Don Staley and you have Wemby, Fox, possibly Cooper Flag, how would you never pass up that offer? Again, let's save the college coaches. We're going to get to college coaches in a little bit here. I promise you. Mario Cavasso, Sam Cassell is a long shot. It will be someone in the coaching tree. Brown is a solid option. That's why I like Mike Brown to be the main option for me. He's number 1. And Cassell's a long shot. I've got more long shots, like big time long shots. But when I name them, I'm going to let you guys do the research and then we'll visit it, on X or Twitter or whatever it is. We'll maybe do it on TikTok as well. If you follow on at Sweep the League Radio on TikTok, we'll do something on there. What's up? Told you Lakers good, Luka good, and JJ good. Coach for 52 wins. We'll see. We'll see the Lakers get to 52 wins. They need to win 18 more games. So we'll see if it happens, Radine. Appreciate you joining us here tonight. But back to Sam I Am. He check marks a lot of the good things in the coach that you want to see. He's got the experience. As a head coach, not so much, but where you've had former players come in right away, Steve Nash, to name a few, Isaiah Thomas, a lot of these former guys, even Magic Johnson, they come into coaching and it just doesn't work right away. They don't get the experience. Larry Bird didn't have the experience. He came into Indiana and they did really well. But I mean, Larry's a different type of player. Larry's a different type of person, to be honest with you. I think with Sam Cassell, he's one of the guys that can definitely come in because he's got the experience. He's got the championship pedigree, both as a player and as an assistant. The guy deserves an opportunity. I thought he was going to be the coach in Portland until Chauncey Billups got it. I thought he would be the coach in Charlotte. Charles Lee, who, let's go back a little while. Charles Lee was my number 1 pick to take over for Pop. That's on a Locked On Spurs episode from way back in the day. In fact, when Becky left for Vegas, that Jeff and I did a show on Locked On, and the first person I mentioned was Charles Lee. Charles Lee should be the head coach of the Spurs if Pop retires. He should be the next in line. Now he's in Charlotte. So Sam Cassell is the guy who, more than Mike Brown 1, Sam Cassell's 2 for me. I love Sam Cassell as a head coach. He checks off so many boxes. There's no reason why he shouldn't be given the opportunity. To me, he's beneficial for the team too. Very skilled guard, very skilled point guard. You've got De'Aaron Fox. You've got a player in Stephon Castle who could benefit from a coach like Sam Cassell. You want that dog. You want that guy that gets in there, that mixes it up. Sohan is the type of player like that. Loving it. Loving it. Point guard with rings, knew how to play with a dominant big guy, NBA lifer, tough as nails. I am Sam. Exactly. You are checking a lot of the boxes that I would check when it comes to coaching for Sam Cassell as a San Antonio Spur successor to Greg Popovich. Sam Cassell. That's my number 2 guy. Rudy Campos Jr., Sweep the League TV, Tuesday Night Delight Edition. Coach Gio, Derek Irvin, hopefully be back this week. Derek's having some issues with his phone, so we're trying to square that away. Gio usually takes Tuesday off anyway, so talking about talking about coaches succeeding for Pop. Basically covering Locked On Spurs episode with Jeff Garcia and myself today. Released earlier today. Go check it out. A part of the Locked On Network. Mention the guys. So far, you've had Mitch Johnson brought back. You've had Monty Williams, TMI's head coach, in the backyard, former Spurs ties, everything like that. Those are Jeff's picks. My top 2 picks were Mike Brown, Sam Cassell. My reachers, my coaches where I'm like, you know what? They're way out there. But you got to think outside the box. Go do the research on these 2. And then you guys let me know. Brooklyn Nets assistant coach Jordi Fernandez. Another one that I like. I really like Jordi. I think he coached over Spanish basketball. He's now Brooklyn Nets. I mean, the guy's a really good basketball guru. So I'm throwing him out there. Jordi Fernandez. I'm throwing him out there. A name that kind of gets mentioned a few times when coaching vacancies are open. Not as experienced as I would like. Falls below Sam Cassell for me. But is a long shot. A guy that I think could work his way up. I mean, who would have ever thought Eric Spoelstra, who is regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time, if you really think about it. Who would have thought Eric Spoelstra would, be where he is? I mean, he started off in the film room. Jordi Fernandez is one of those guys. The other coach that I'm mentioning, and this goes along the WNBA route. She coaches for the Los Angeles Lakers. Lindsey Harding is another coach to look out for. Not necessarily a coach for the Spurs. I'm just giving you a couple of coaches that you may want to keep your eye on. Think about maybe later on in the future, you may see them be a part of the Spurs staff, possibly. Lindsey Harding is another one. Keep an eye out for Lindsey Harding. Definitely another name you got to look out there. Good evening, y'all. Joel Cologne. Appreciate you joining as always, man. Appreciate you joining. What is going on, man? Mario Cavasco. Spurs could have had Alperen Sengun or Trey Murphy III in 2021 instead of Primo. Was this draft the worst? Worst for the Spurs, yeah. What was worse for the Spurs? Mario, a lot of the drafts haven't really been great drafts. I mean, you've got a couple of guys that come out that are impact makers. The Wemby draft, you've got Wemby, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, I think the Thompson twins. That one's producing some all-stars. Obviously, Wemby, bigger than an all-star. Thompson twins, they're on their way to superstar status. But, definitely they could be all-stars before you know it. Brandon Miller's working his way up. So, especially if they trade LaMelo Ball in the offseason, Brandon Miller possibly could be the face of that team. Scoot Henderson's working his way up. I don't know. I figured he would have been a really quick learner and really quick impact in the NBA. But, that draft was kind of bad. Last year's draft, you see Stephon Castle, pretty much, him, Jalen Wells is another guy that you got to look at. McCain from Philadelphia, before he got hurt, was becoming to be a really good player. Guys to watch in this past draft. I mean, everybody talks about Dalton Connect. I'm not sure the Lakers are really using him the way they need to. One kid I do like from this draft, Zach Edey's another one that you want to look out for. Donovan Klingen's another guy that's going to probably rise up a little bit more. Ron Holland, I wasn't really high on him, but he's making a huge difference in Detroit. So, as I stated in the draft coverage for this past draft, I said, this draft is basically the blue collar draft. These are guys that are going to come in, not necessarily be all-stars. They're not going to be superstars. I mean, you're seeing Stephon Castle. Is he technically an all-star right now? No, not technically a superstar, but he's definitely a contributor, and he's doing it in a good way. So I would say, yeah, I mean, this draft coming up, you're going to have all-star potential. You're going to have guaranteed starters. You could have a few superstars in this draft. So, yeah, this draft coming up is going to be a big one. I don't know if it was the worst draft overall. We can get into draft talk some other time soon. If you bring in Sam, about 2 of the current young goer guys are going to be gone, and those are facts because they are soft as Charmin and toilet paper. 100%, man. The NBA today is pretty soft, pretty damn soft. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But bringing in Sam Cassell, not necessarily, the younger guys would be gone. You could toughen them up. If we're talking, off season, I'm pretty much, I will say probably Devin Vassell's name probably is going to get thrown around a lot in the off season. If you are a Spurs fan, which a lot of y'all are, who would you rather keep, Devin or Keldon right now? Throw that in the chat. We'll share that with everybody as well. But soft, yeah, I mean, the NBA in general is soft right now. I think Sam would toughen up a lot of these guys. So you may not see a whole bunch of turnover when it comes to Spurs. Harding, a former Duke Blue Devil. Yes, she is. Tim Gonzalez. Can you believe I called out a Duke Blue Devil as being a potential super long shot, 10,000 to 1 odds of becoming a head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. What's up, Jacob Eric? Appreciate you in here, man. Graded the market. We'll be coming back soon with Jacob Eric. The crew out there will be doing some more collectible shows, so that'll be coming very, very soon. Primo couldn't keep his tool in the shed. Yeah, Primo couldn't do it. Cousin couldn't do that. Primo couldn't keep it in his pants, man. We'll put it that way. So Keldon he is cheaper. I think you're right. Keep Keldon, probably move on from Vassell. When Keldon is up for contract renewal, I mean, you're probably not going to look at probably giving him a whole bunch more than what he's making now. Obviously, he's probably due for a raise, but you're probably not going to give him a whole bunch more. But yeah, more bang for your buck. You're going to get a great 6th man off the bench. So I would probably end up keeping Keldon in the long run here. Appreciate everybody joining in the chat. We are talking about today's Locked On Spurs episode with myself and Jeff Garcia, talking about what happens if Coach Pop retires. Who would you bring in? The guys that Jeff mentioned are Mitch Johnson, just keeping Mitch for another offseason, a full offseason, another season, see what he can do when he implements his own coaching style. Jeff also talked about Monty Williams. That one's a good one. I like that one. The guys I picked were Mike Brown, Sam Cassell. Those are my 2 picks. I threw out, the 100,000 to 1 long shots in Jordy Fernandez and Lindsey Harding. Those 2 are, I think they're names that could be brought up, not for the Spurs, but just in coaching in general. Both are doing a fantastic job. When we get back from commercial break, we'll start talking about the college coaches, and then we'll start talking about former Spurs that could be coaches. Keldon is the pulse of the team. He is a leader not being seen. 100% Mario. I'll agree with you on that. Vassell can't help the club from the tub full of ice. Love it. Love that comment as well. When we get back from commercial break, again, college coaches in the NBA, and then you've got Spurs, former Spurs players who could potentially have a coaching gig in San Antonio, maybe as the head coach, and why Manu Ginobili is not going to be that guy. That's my opinion. When we come back here on Sweep the League, the Tuesday night delight edition of Sweep the League. Also, real quick, we've got an Imagine Dragons trailer as Sweep the League and I Am Refocused Radio are teaming up to send some lucky fans to go see the preview and the premiere of the Imagine Dragons official movie trailer. We got a little sneak peek for you here in just a minute. This is Rudy Campos in your Sweep the League. We'll be back.
Time to react, yeah, shift like a skate. Left, right, lean, that's a bucket in sight. Pull up mid, let it fly, no hype. Fourth quarter ice, keep the rock in my grip. When the clock go red, don't slip, I rip. Fast is allowed, yeah, the motor don't quit. Drop 30 quick, now they begging for a switch. Fox in the open, the lane look free, now allow that up. Win B. And running no team, keep pace. Fox got gears, Wendy got grace. Hoop too high, man, you won't touch. New Spurs every year, time to rush. Speed too real, yeah, check that tight. Defenders froze, now they stuck in place. Who gon' step, man, don't play dumb. Fast break done.
Thank you for such an incredibly special night. Thank you for giving us the gift of being able to share music with you. Wheels up from the off the ground. Nowhere but the roll around. How we doing out there all night? I sure love you, LA.
You are watching Sweep the League TV. Make sure you subscribe and catch our new videos.
Sweep the League TV with Rudy Derrick and Coach Gia. Let's get back to the live show. You are watching the best in the business.
All right, welcome back to Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. Coach Gio is off tonight as well as Derek Irvin, so it's going to be me for tonight. They should be back hopefully this week, so we'll get you the schedules for those two guys right now. We are talking about the Locked On Spurs episode that we did today, that myself and Jeff Garcia did today, talking about the coaching tree. Coach Pop decides to call it a career. What goes on? That's where you can see it right there. If you want to check it out, that latest Locked On Spurs episode, Jeff Garcia and myself, possible candidates for next Spurs head coach. Imagine Dragons on the cinema, coming to a cinema and theaters very, very soon. Sweep the League and I Am Refocused Radio are teaming up with Imagine Dragons to send some lucky fans to go see it in theaters. We ain't saying to the actual concert, but we got you going to the theaters to catch the premiere of the Imagine Dragons concert. The Hollywood Bowl, again, Sweep the League, and I Am Refocused Radio team up with Imagine Dragons to send some lucky fans to go check out the new cinema, the new concert from Imagine Dragons over at the Hollywood Bowl in cinemas and theaters near you very, very soon. Get some of the comments here before we move on to more coaching and why NCAA coaches probably are not the best choice for the Spurs. Here's my thing on Sam. He's been an assistant since 2009. Why hasn't he been a head coach yet? Kind of goes back to the first thing I said. I don't know if you were on the show just yet, Joel, but more like the Eric Bieniemy treatment. Very qualified, very successful, titles under his belt. But why can't he get a head coaching job? I mean, you saw a guy like Chauncey Billups get a head coaching opportunity before Sam Cassell. I don't know if it's as simple as Sam just not wanting a coaching job. I mean, I know he's interviewed for some, But I don't know. I mean, I really can't say. I would say that if you're the Spurs, do your due diligence, kind of go after Sam, see what his ideas are, see what his takes are, see if he wants the opportunity to coach. But let me put it this way. I love Mike Brown as my number one option, but if I have both guys in front of me and both guys want the job, I would probably go to Sam before I went to Mike Brown. I know Mike Brown's got the head coaching experience. He's got the success. He's got the history. But I don't know if he has the fire. I don't know if he has the passion that Sam Cassell has. When you saw him as a player, holy cow, man. One of the focal points, one of the heartbeats for the Houston Rockets during those title runs. So that's who I would go first. But yeah, I'm not sure why he hasn't been hired just yet. Spurs hired Jeff Garcia for general manager. I'm sure Jeff would take that. Jay Wright would have to be able to buy the groceries as well, being able to cook the meal to pry him away from kickback, relax. Exactly. We're getting into that right now. At Joel Cologne, just like Darvin Ham before he got the Laker job, long jam at retread head coaches. Yeah, exactly. Probably Gio celebrating that Georgia beat Florida earlier this evening. More than likely. Retreads go first in the NBA. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of teams, especially the younger teams, the younger generational teams, they want that experienced head coach. I mean, Ime Udoka had issues in Boston, obviously, gets picked up by Houston. I really do agree with that. You know, a lot of head coaches, the regurgitated head coaching carousel that we see won't allow for new guys to come in. So maybe that's another reason why Sam Cassell isn't getting those offers that he should be getting, those opportunities that he should be getting. NCAA coaches in the NBA. So the most popular NCAA coach brought up by Spurs fans is Dan Hurley out of UConn. Obviously, back-to-back national titles. UConn kind of struggling this year. But here's the thing with Dan Hurley is I don't point the finger at just Dan. I go further than that. NBA coaches and NCAA coaches, sometimes you're just meant to be an NCAA head coach. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Larry Brown was one guy that came in from Kansas, came into the NBA, had success in the NBA. One of the few coaches that could go back and forth and do great at both, both NCAA and NBA, have success. You've got some of the most iconic coaches, Rick Pitino, John Calipari, Jerry Tarkanian. They all came to the NBA. They all struggled with the NBA. Could it be because they are coaching adults? Could it be the game's just too much? It's faster? I don't know. Out of the three, Rick Pitino probably had the best possibility and chance to be successful, but all three failed. The NCAA coaches, go to the legends, John Thompson, Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith. There's a lot of reasons why they didn't coach in the NBA. They probably felt, like I said, they're just NCAA coaches, and that's okay. They know that they would have more success, more longevity at the NCAA level. They don't want to put up with a lot of the traveling, possibly, a lot of the headaches they get from the NBA. No problem. That's not a big deal. Guys like Dan Hurley, guys like Jay Wright, they are set up to be better NCAA coaches than I think they would be NBA coaches. Jay Wright, been mentioned a lot on this show. I would love it. And I think Jay has even been mentioned as trying to be a part of Coach Pop's staff. He has the opportunity to take over Coach Pop. I wouldn't mind trying the Jay Wright experience, but I think what comment was made earlier by SR 2001, it's going to take a lot to pry him away from the retirement that he's in. So I like the Jay Wright idea, but I don't think Jay Wright would come back. I don't like Jay Wright. to come back as an NBA head coach. I think he's happy being retired. I think he's happy where he's at. I think he's kind of done already. That's what I think he's just happy right now. If he gets an opportunity, great. But I say he's the head coach of the Spurs. I don't see very much success with Jay Wright. That's my own personal opinion. Is there a college coach right now that I see having some success coming to the NBA? Zero. Not even Dan Hurley. I look at Dan Hurley as the character part. Egotistical, kind of a loudmouth, a bully, which I don't care. I mean, you could use that Bobby Knight type of coaching style. But as mentioned earlier by you guys in the comments, the NBA is soft. Can't get away with that in the NBA like you can in college. You're coaching kids. You're coaching youngsters. In the NBA, you're coaching men. You think they'll put up with a lot of those antics? No. They're not. You think referees are going to put up with Dan Hurley bullying them like he's able to do in college? No. Hell no. So that's why I would scratch Dan Hurley completely off the list. And there's really no NCAA head coach that I would go after. Spurs players. One was mentioned already, and that was the guy that I mentioned in the Locked On episode as well. We're going to get into him in a minute here. No, it's not Manu Ginobili. Let's get to the comments here before we get carried away. So if there's a logjam of redread coaches, couldn't Monty fall into that? Then Monty could. That's why Monty was Jeff's second pick. Monty Williams was Jeff's second pick as the Spurs head coach. Mario Elie, Sam I Am, Robert Ory, Kenny Smith, Carl, etc. The others. Yeah. So funny because remember, Mario Elie is a part of the Pelicans. So if Sam Cassell was to get the opportunity to coach the Spurs, he could bring in Mario Elie as an assistant. Another no-nonsense, straight dog type player, get in your face, can teach the young kids how to win, how to be, tough, everything. I like that 1-2 combo. Sam Cassell is your head coach, Mario Elie is assistant, maybe your assistant head coach. I like it. I like that a lot. Rudy, why don't you think Don is a perfect candidate for the job? I'm not saying Don Staley's not a perfect candidate for the job. I think out of every women's head coach, she's probably the best. She's probably number one on the list, but I think she goes more WNBA than NBA right now. I would expect Dawn to maybe go the Becky Hammon way and kind of be an assistant, work her way up, probably to lead assistant to assistant, lead assistant, head coach, stuff like that. Interim, possibly head coach. I kind of see that more first for Dawn rather than, straight to the NBA as a head coach. I kind of think they would have to go the Becky route, Becky Hammon route for Dawn Staley. But I don't think she's not a perfect candidate. She's a really good candidate. Monty has been a retread. Look at his history. He may have won his welcome in the NBA. That's a possibility too. Mark Jackson. I mean, a lot of people say Mark Jackson's blackballed in the NBA. He won't ever get another coaching job. But he's a great coach. Great coach. Spurs didn't have enough towels for Cherry Tark to bite. I just wanted a point guard. And then, yeah, the Tark days, man. The Tark days. I love me some Jerry Tarkanian. Ryan and Rebels. If you want to retread, here's one, the little general. And you brought him up, Avery. Yeah. So that was my thing. If you're going to go to past Spurs players who have the opportunity to be a head coach, Monty Williams obviously is there, but a lot of people point to Manu. And I don't discredit Manu Ginobili being a head coach. Not at all. I think Manu would be a fantastic head coach. I think Manu would be a really good head coach and a really good mentor, a fantastic mentor. But I can't see Manu being thrown into the fire right away. Manu, on a person standpoint, is a a Larry Bird type of mentality. He wants to win. All coaches want to win. But Manu has that fire in him that's like, we got to win now. Now. And that's what I think with Manu being a head coach for the Spurs, he's got to go that assistant coach route. Get your feet wet in there. See how you would do in certain situations. I think if the Spurs hired Manu Ginobili to be the head coach, I want to say it's a success. It's a move to set up early failure for Manu. And we can't have that for Manu Ginobili. You can't set him up to fail early. The way the team is assembled right now doesn't really fit. Have to do a little bit more. Have to add a couple more veterans. Have to add, pieces that would fit the way Manu would want to coach, which, to be honest, if it's Manu coaching, go to Argentina days. A lot of motion, a lot of fast breaks, defensive prowess. So do you see the Spurs currently a Argentina type basketball team? You don't. It's hard. So as great as Manu is, he would be a really good coach, just not right now. And I give a lot of pushback to when people say Manu Ginobili. And the only reason why I give him pushback is not because he's not a good head coach and he wouldn't make a good head coach. It's the fact that he's not ready right now, and it's not his fault. I just feel he needs to get his feet wet. He's got to be on that bench for a couple of years, maybe a year. Maybe in a year, it'll change everything. But you got to get him on that bench. Not have him at the practice facility, coaching and teaching a couple of guys. No. Get him on the bench. During those in-game situations. He's got it in him. He's got it in him. But to just throw him as the head coach, I think that sets him up for failure. That's why I wouldn't go with Manu Ginobili right away. Get into Avery talk in a minute. How about the coach from Notre Dame wins basketball? She's a very long shot. But again, any woman basketball coach, I think, has to go the Becky route and the Lindsey Harding route as well. Get your assistant coaching in, and then work your way up. Becky earned the most respect because she was able to take a summer league team to a title. She was able to be a head coach for the summer league and the summer teams. And that's where she got more of her feet wet. It prepared her to go to the WNBA as a head coach and be successful there. It also opened up doors for her to go be a head coach in the NBA sometime later on. The youngsters wouldn't know how to cope with Manu, and that's what I'm talking about. It's not so much Manu's a bad coach or a bad person. No. I think he's good. He'll be a terrific coach, but just not right now. Got to kind of ease Manu in because of, like I mentioned, he's got that Larry Bird mentality. He wants to win. He doesn't know anything but winning. Think about it. I mean, all the Spurs did during that time was win. Tim Duncan, 18 years of 50-plus wins? I mean, never missed the playoffs. And you're asking Manu, come to a team that is struggling to get to 30, 35 wins, 30 wins, 35 wins. It gets tough. You would set him up for failure. And you don't want that for a guy like Manu right away. Way too intense and too manly for them. Way too much alpha. Yeah, I mean, you get it right there. You're totally getting my point. It's not a good fit right now. Manu is my favorite Spur of all time, but I don't see him as a head coach. Yeah, I do, just not right now. He's got to get his feet wet. He's got to get, like I said, a year would be good as an assistant. 2 would be great. 2.5, 3 years. Oh my God, fantastic. I think that would help him in becoming a head coach, especially for the Spurs right away. Get those years under your belt. If that's really what you want to do. How about our own Detroit and Utah Hall-of-Famer Derek? Derek would probably really try to be a head coach in the NBA, and he would be very, very successful. So guys that don't know, he has coached before, not in the NBA, but at the high school level. and he's had a lot of success. So yeah, Derek would definitely be good. One guy I mentioned earlier, let's bring him up here, Avery. Now, on Locked On earlier, Locked On Spurs, I brought up Avery Johnson as the only former Spur I would probably consider who has head coaching experience is Avery Johnson. And I know Monty played with the Spurs and all that, and Monty's up there, but Avery Johnson, head coach of Alabama, I mean, he's been a head coach in the NBA as well. I think if you're going with a former Spurs player, I really like Avery Johnson. I really do. He's got fire. He's got passion. He's a very, very smart player. He's a player's coach. He's got a lot of passion. I think for a team right now, as assembled, I think Avery would be that number one choice if you're going with a former Spurs player. That's who I look at, because for granted, the Spurs lost to the Pelicans, back-to-back nights on the Pelicans, back-to-back, losses to the Pelicans. You've got a very young team. So if you're looking at Avery, you're looking at a guy who has coached at the college level, has coached at the NBA level. College level, he's developed guys at the college level, players, gotten them ready for the NBA. So player development is there for Avery Johnson, something that the Spurs need. They need a coach who's player development. You've got a guy who has success with San Antonio, NBA champion with San Antonio. He's played and learned under Pop. So for me, Avery's kind of like that Sam Cassell. Checks a lot of boxes that I like in a head coach for this team. The biggest thing is he's a player. He's a mild-mannered player's coach. He's a developer. And that goes back to Jordi Fernandez, who I mentioned earlier, with the assistant coach of the Brooklyn Nets as a long shot. Jordi Fernandez is a coach that has developed players. If I'm not mistaken, it was under Kyrie, it was LeBron, a lot of these guys he's developed. He's a developmental coach in Jordi Fernandez. So again, a very young team. If you're running it back with the same team for a couple of years, you want a guy who's going to be able to come in and develop these players, take them to that next level. Avery, as a former head coach, I am 100% down for that. He makes the most sense as a former Spurs player who has experience, who has developed players in college, young guys, getting them ready for the NBA. Avery's a fantastic idea. And that's why I mentioned him on Locked On Spurs earlier at the end. Avery would be that one guy I'd make a call to if you wanted a guy from former Spurs teams. So is this season truly lost for real? We just got swept on back-to-back against the bottom feeder New Orleans. On that subject, I will say that I was optimistic, thinking, okay, they're not going to make the playoffs. I already knew that. I mean, I've even with a healthy Victor Wembanyama, they weren't making the playoffs. They were going to fight for a play-in spot. Made the trade for De'Aaron Fox. They weren't a guaranteed playoff team. They were probably going to fight for a play-in spot. So to me, at the beginning of the season, on Sweep the League and on Locked On Spurs, I had them at 30 wins for the season and 35 on the high end. That the most they would win is 35, but I pegged them at 30 wins. Right now, as of right now, this show, they're at 24 and 32. So they got to get 6 more wins to hit that 30 mark, but 11 more to hit that 35 mark. You got to remember, before the New Orleans games, when they got back from the All-Star break, the last 20 games, 9 games were against teams not in the play-in. New Orleans being that team, one of those teams. And they lost both of those to New Orleans. So You got to remember, out of those last, 30 games. It was the last 30 games of the season. 9 were against teams not in the play-in. 21 were against teams in the play-in or playoffs. Brutal schedule for the Spurs. Brutal. They had to win the games that were winnable. Yeah, they beat Phoenix. Came back, lost to Detroit, who's been on a hot streak all year. That was the team to watch at the beginning of the season. We told you Detroit is that team to watch in the East. Then they go back-to-back on the Pelicans. They lose. The Pelicans were a team they should have won. Now, we didn't expect Wemby to go down for the season. That hurts a lot. But, yeah, the season truly lost. I would say so. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to make the playoffs. I mean, I can get you these. Let's go to the standings real quick here. As of right now, they are 4 games back of the play-in at number 10. Sacramento's at 29. Spurs are at 24. I'm sorry. 5 games back of the play-in. Portland just moved ahead of San Antonio on the standings. So right now, the Spurs stand as the 3rd worst team in the West. And they are the 8th worst team in the league. Not including Chicago, because Chicago's in the play-in right now. But technically they're the 9th worst team in the league. But they're the 3rd worst team in the West. I don't see it. I mean, I was telling you guys, it's going to take 40 to 42 wins just to make the play-in. You know, I think maybe on a low end, 30, 38 may make the play-in. So, yeah, you're talking 14 games to just have a sniff at the play-in. I can't see it. I would say the season probably is lost right now. So, this organization was not prepared for life after Pop. No next coach up in line. Perfect comment. Perfect. You know, when we see some great comments like we have tonight, we always give a shout out to them. So yeah, shout out to them. Comments in the world tonight. Appreciate y'all joining here. But yeah, they're right. Spurs were not ready for life after Pop. Definitely not. Definitely not. If they were, they would have already had everything in line for them. Definitely not. Good question. Good comment there. SR 2001. The safe choice is Avery, then familiar point guard, experienced winner, not as alpha yet will hold you accountable. And the fans base would be accepting and patient, but would the pansy as youngins agree? You know, that's the reason why we did a whole show tonight on coaching. Normally, we don't spend 10 minutes on the Spurs or the Cowboys or anything. It's rare that we spend an entire show talking about Spurs or anything. But as we come to the end of the show, think about it. Probably Avery is the best guy for that position. Tough enough to where he's going to make this point, get his point across. But yeah, not an alpha. It's not going to be super hard on the guys. It's great player development. I think Avery checks a lot of boxes, like I said, along with Sam Cassell. Avery checks a lot of boxes. Sam's going to come in, pedal to the metal. It's my way or the highway. If you don't like it, I can get rid of you. We'll go another route. He'll make it tough for the guys. So if they want to be tougher, if they want to have that killer instinct, Sam Cassell. They want to develop. They want to, get on the right path, on the right track. Both guys are good, Cassell and Avery. But I think Avery would be more patient. Have more patience than what probably Sam Cassell would have. Great comment. Great comment. Saw it happen with the Patriots and Belichick. Seen it happen with the Spurs. Yeah. It's right there in front of us. Spurs don't have a backup plan. They have no backup plan. Just like the Patriots. Bill said later, Patriots are in a world of hurt. Difference is that the Spurs have Wembanyama. They have De'Aaron Fox. And they've got 2025, the summer of 2025 coming up. Not necessarily draft picks. They've got some draft picks, obviously. But the summer of 2025 is here. And that's what the Spurs need. Spurs need that. So that's what we're getting at now. The summer of 2025, you have a draft. They have one of the biggest drafts in NBA, in recent NBA history. Galore. Players galore. Superstars galore. Not superstars, but I mean stars galore. Could they potentially get the number 1 pick? Possibly. If they fall in the top 4, they're going to get an impact player right away. We'll see what happens. But free agency. Big time free agents are in 2025. Guys coming into 2025 and 2026 on their last year, probably not going to re-sign extensions. Luka is on, I think, his last year is next year on his contract. If he doesn't re-sign or sign that extension, what happens there? I mean, the Spurs have a lot of money to play with. They have a lot of draft picks to trade. They've got some young guys with some good contracts they can move as well. So 2025, that's the way to go. Hey, we got Vrabel now. It looks like we have the quarterback. So go Pats. Yeah, you actually got 2 good quarterbacks. 2 good quarterbacks. So Drake May and Milton. Now you got 2 great quarterbacks in New England. So don't worry about that. You're on your way. Locked On Spurs, Jeff. We were talking about Locked On episode all show today. It was just we were talking about the whole episode, going over coaching standards. FYI, at the end of the show, we're basically saying that Avery Johnson basically is that guy. I think we found more positives as far as him and Sam Cassell. Both have been probably the 2 most popular choices tonight. So, yeah, possibly the 2 most popular choices tonight were Avery and Sam, and I don't disagree with either one. Is the season toast now? I mean, pretty much. It's been toast for a while. I'm wondering if they're going to get to that 35 win mark that we put them on a high that they would. The most they would win is 35 wins. They need 11 wins in the last, 56? So 26 more games. They've got to get 11 wins. It's going to be tough. Only, 7 games left against teams that are not in the play-in or playoffs. It's going to be tough, Jeff. I don't know. I mean, the season's toast. Let's put it that way. I think a lot of us agree. Also, why does it feel that D-Fox isn't the D-Fox we saw in Sacramento? The reason why we did this entire show and the reason why we did a Locked On Spurs, Jeff, it's coaching. It's coaching. It's not playing bad. He had 15, 9, 6 steals, 3 rebounds. I mean, you're getting De'Aaron Fox. You're getting the De'Aaron Fox you want. Just doesn't have a big man to run with him. Doesn't have the personnel next to him either. So that's why it's so tough for him. It looks tough, but it's really not. De'Aaron Fox is playing magnificent basketball for the Spurs. 6 steals. I mean, come on. Like I said, his defense has gone up since he's been in San Antonio to a whole nother level. He's doing fine. He's doing fine. Personally, we need to form the Spurs around Fox and Castle. Maybe not so much Vic. Vic is the pillar. Put it this way: the cement, golly, I can't even know. The foundation was poured with Vic. Fox and Castle are, the beams, the support beams. You just got to build around them, and it's all 3. So yeah, you're not building not so much around Vic. You've got the backcourt in Fox and Castle. Now you got to get the running mates. You got to get the guys that make sense around you and around those guys. Vic and Castle are the future, along with De'Aaron Fox. You got to get the other pieces around them. You got to start putting the walls up in the house. You got to start getting everything squared away. The blueprint's got to make sense now. So, I mean, you can form them around Fox and Castle. Vic's going to be his own guy. I do agree with you on that. I like that comment. That's a good one. Now already we don't know what Joe Milton is yet. Man, I'll say this. Milton's a baller, man. I give credit to Joe Milton. He's a baller. The fan base will really get behind AJ just to hold out to critics like me. AJ would be a really, really good hire. A really good hire. I mean, he wasn't so much on my top tier list, but after tonight, going over things with the fans, which we love to interact with you guys out there, the listeners. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. Avery Johnson could be on my short list for the San Antonio Spurs. If Mitch closes out the season on a bad run, a lot more like he's like the out as head coach candidate. I think he's been out for a very long time, Jeff. I don't think Mitch is even considered right now going in the next season. And if it is, it's a Jerry Jones type of thing that's happening in San Antonio. We like what we have. We like the coach that we have. And they're going to run with it until it just completely makes zero sense. So I don't know. I think he's out. I think he should be out. No doubt about that. Fox Castle is the franchise. Vic is the anchor to keep us in San Antonio. Blood clots are very unpredictable. Keep that in mind. We all have kept that in mind. We know blood clots are terrible. They are unpredictable. You may think that it's great. You may think you're going to be okay. Your career's not over. Anything can happen with blood clots. We won't know until we actually start to see, recovery and how everything's going. It's still way too early to tell. And I know basketball is far from, anybody's mind when it comes to Victor Wembanyama. But we will keep that in mind, especially with the blood clots that he's got going on. But hey, appreciate everybody that joined me tonight for Sweep the League. Be sure to go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button. Go to our TikTok page at Sweep the League Radio. Be sure to be a follower on there. We've got a lot of NFL draft content. We're going to drop in more draft content. Like I said, we've got a ton more 7-round draft mock drafts coming out for each team. We go by team. So we got another 7 or 8 coming out. That'll leave us with another 6 to do to close out the entire NFL season for the mock draft that we will be doing real quick. We've got hence draft big guys exactly, but who remain on the short list, like maybe drops the bottom tier of candidates. I don't even think he should remain on the list, to be honest with you. Mitch Johnson, you put an X on a lot of stuff with Mitch Johnson, tons of stuff, because you're in-game adjustments, lineups that just don't work. I mean, it's like he's panicking. He's panicking, and he shouldn't panic. Just coach the way you know how to coach. But we'll see. Talking baseball. Yeah, we got to talk. Baseball season's already underway. Spring training is up. We'll get into some baseball talk. Joel, appreciate you joining us here as always. Appreciate everybody joining us here as always. We'll get into baseball talk. I know Gio's a huge Mariners fan. I'm a Giants fan. We've actually got a guy that used to be on Sweep the League a long time ago, Austin Hartsfield. Did a lot of coverage for the San Diego Padres. Also covered the Amarillo Sod Poodles. So we'll have Austin here talking some baseball with you guys as well. We'll see if we can get Austin here. Maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll get Austin to jump back on the show, talk some baseball. I'll do a baseball show with you guys out there. The Little General is the safest bet, and it will motivate the base. Yeah. I mean, I think more than anything, like I said, Mike Brown was my top choice, but I think it comes down to Sam Cassell and Avery Johnson are the two guys that I really like. So appreciate that out there. College basketball talks. March Madness coming up, Tim. We got to get to college basketball. I'll hit up the Boomstein, see what he's up to. We can get some college basketball talk. Appreciate everybody joining us here on Sweep the League. Again, we're teaming up with Imagine Dragons. Sweep the League and I Am Reflex Radio teaming up with Imagine Dragons to send you to the theaters to check out the Imagine Dragons live concert. So we'll be picking out a couple of winners actually here pretty soon, brought to you by Sweep the League and I Am Refocus Radio, partnering up with Imagine Dragons. Definitely a Ryan Cockburner, yeah. Definitely. So we're going to team up with Imagine Dragons and I Am Refocus Radio to send you guys to go check out Imagine Dragons. We'll play that teaser here in just a little bit. So for Coach Gio, Derek Irvin, Rudy Cowboy Jr., until we sweep the league again, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.
Are you a hockey fan looking for the latest on the Edmonton Oilers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and NHL news of the week? Barry and Carson Best bring it all to you on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. They break down games, provide insider updates, and keep you up to speed every week. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and join their hockey family.
Wimby breaks NBA record, man. He ain't done yet. This guy is from out of this world. He's gotta be an alien. What is going on? Oh my goodness, this guy is really gonna be special. Ain't nothing to it. When we still lit. When we still lit. When we still lit. Lit. We got dreams, hit the fast lane. Took the stairs, real pain, no fear. We steady making it clear. I'm the captain, nice to meet you, but I make chess moves, no snooze. Bless you, we turning the impossible to possible. Doing what we do, call me Wemby, alien, flow too quick. You can't see me, just saying. The only thing that is your season, come see me, trust me.
Thank you for such an incredibly special night. Thank you for giving us the gift of being able to share music with you. Wheels up from the off the ground. Nowhere but to roll around. How we doing out there online? I sure love you, LA.
Vision on the court, watch my plays take action. Fast break, hustle, yeah, I'm built to compete. Defense locked in, I'm the soul of the street. Court vision crazy, I'm ballin' in the zone. Step back, jumper, yeah, I'm cold like stone. 2025 moves my game, got finesse. Leave it all on the floor, you know I'm the best.